Hey, Pete here from RCCA Car Action Magazine, and as you can tell, I've got the brand new Traxxas TRX-4. It's kind of a close shot for me, but here I am, and we're going to unbox this. I'll do my best to answer your questions as we go along, and feel free to fire away. I see some likes already coming through. We know it's a hot truck, so let's go ahead and dig in and see what Traxxas has got cooking with the TRX-4. We've got some styrofoam here, as per usual for Traxxas. And we'll pull the TRX-4 out. Here's your manual and some spares and tools in there. And I can see deep inside the other piece of styrofoam, which should have the transmitter in it. And there's that. You've got a Traxxas TQI, and this is a 4-channel since you've got a switch for the high-low transmission and the locking differentials. Now let's go ahead and get this body off. Traxxas puts 2 clips in there just to ship it, and we'll get the bag off of there. And as you can see, you've got these fender wells in there, so the truck looks extra realistic when the body is mounted. Looks like got some film on the front there. We'll peel that off. And that is a good looking truck. And let's take a look at Facebook here on my other monitor. So what really separates this crawler from other crawlers, asks Adam. Well, I'm going to say it's mostly the portal axles. There are other authentic looking trail trucks out there. Traxxas has a winner with this Defender D110 body. You've got separately molded fender flares that rack on the top, a lot of action on the back, but other trucks do scale too. So let's talk about that feature which sets this one apart, which is the portal axles. And with the body off while we're looking, you've got a tag here. You should always read this stuff, even if you think you know it all, like I sometimes do. But there is always good stuff in there. You want to make sure that things haven't changed. I know for a fact that this XL5 speed control has some different specs than what's in a Slash, for example. So I am going to go ahead and read that. I'm going to pull it off right now, but I'll get back to checking this out later on. Okay, portal axles. Here is, we'll look at the back end. Here's the back end of the truck, and you've got a differential in the middle, which is standard. We've seen that before, but a portal axle, I'm going to have to pull a wheel to show you guys. You can see how the axle steps down. Instead of the wheel attaching right to the tube part here, it drops down. There's a gear reduction side there, and that's what the wheel hooks up to. And that raises the differential, gives you more ground clearance. And probably the best way to show that is to grab the box again, because there's a nice cutaway, as I recall. Yeah, this will work. Here you can see, here we go. I got to work backwards on screen. There you can see that's where the stub axle actually comes out, and where the drive shaft goes in is up here. And on this illustration, here you can see how there's a gear reduction at the end of the axle. And you can see how the stub axle is much lower than where the end of the axle normally would be, which would be up here. And if you go to Traxxas.com, they do a better job of showing that with different cutaways and larger images and renders you can check out. But that's the big feature for this truck. If I had to name just one that separates the TRX-4 from other trail trucks out there, certainly there are others, but that would be the biggie. Another neat feature is you've got the battery tray almost centrally located between the shock towers, definitely centered longitudinally, or from side to side, I mean. But it is also pretty close to being centered between the shock towers. Of course, you've got the motor taking up space, which is inline, and Traxxas has their battery mount system in here, which lets you rotate the strap to suit different pack thicknesses. And it just clips in, so you don't have any kind of a thumb wheel or a body clip to deal with. I've got a couple of packs that we can put in there. You can do a 2S. This is a 5800 milliamp pack, power cell, ID LiPo. The truck will also run on 3S, one of these guys here, 4000 milliamp. And like I said, there's two height settings. So this is the lower one, that's a little tight. So you just rotate this and that pops in. And now your pack's installed. You don't have to jack around with any body clips. Always nice to not have body clips anywhere, but especially if you're out on the trail, you're working over grass, you don't want to drop a body clip because it's just going to be gone forever. So that's a nice battery system that Traxxas has. XL5 speed control. You've got mini servos here to control the high-low transmission and the remote locking differentials. Titan power, but this is the Titan 21 turn motor. You can see that in there. Let me get closer to the camera. Haven't driven it yet because I just unboxed it, obviously. But with the high-low, it'll run on 3S with a 21 turn motor. I think it's going to do close to 20, maybe 15 or 18, but we'll see when we get out and run it. Let me take a look back at the feed here and see what the questions are. Axles like a real Unimog, that's true. Such a nice ride. Okay, Mitch. Are they sealed? Asked Paul. I'm not sure what you're referring to. The vehicle has waterproof electronics. You can do all the trail stuff that you want to do as far as crossing streams and whatnot. As you people asking about the price, it depends which model you're looking at, but there are trucks that don't have locking differentials and don't have a high-low transmission that you can operate from the radio. That are priced similarly to this. So it seems like a value to me. Is it cheap? No, it's definitely not a cheap truck. It's not going to undercut what else is out there. But when you look at the features for dollar, certainly a competitive truck, if not a bargain, depending on what you're comparing it to. And keep in mind, you are getting a super detailed body too. This isn't just a piece of Lexan with some decals on it. You've got the injection molded fender flares here. In the back, you've got a functional spare tire. And you've got these jerry cans here, or Rotopacks. You've got a jack that's molded on there. And the body itself is very well done, a lot of great detail. I do wish it had clear windows. It's got black decals on there, but it doesn't hamper the look of the truck. Molded grille, so you get that three-dimensional depth there. And it looks like that is a bucket for an LED. I can't quite see in there. And as noted before, you've got full fender wells. So when the body's mounted, you don't just see right into the chassis and a big old servo or the battery wires. When the body's mounted, the truck still looks extra realistic. And there's quite a bit of weight back here. I'd probably say that for maximum trail performance, I want to take off that spare tire at the very least, because there's quite a bit of heft. But that is a full functional spare tire, so you can use that on the truck. But it is a little weighty, so if you're going for maximum trail performance, consider pulling that off of there. But for driving around and looking scale, I'm going to leave that on there because it really does make the truck look great. Back to the chassis. As my mic gets ripped off. You can see the front bumper here is adjustable. You've got a couple of screws that will let the bumper telescope back and forth on the front and rear ends. I've actually got a SCX-10 2 bumper here because I understand that these are interchangeable. So if you want to put a Proline bumper on here or an RC four-wheel drive bumper or someone else's accessory bumper, you don't have to wait around for a specific aftermarket version just for the TRX-4. The versions for the axial truck should fit, but let's just check that out. This will slide out. And this is the axial bumper. And that fits right in there. So if you want to get an accessory bumper from Proline or RC four-wheel drive or someone else, that bumper will fit. I'm noticing that this has got a shelf here on the axial bumper. And that's where you can put a winch. On the Traxxas bumper, they've got a molded winch to give you that look of a winch on the bumper. And that has a screw in it. So if we pull that out, and I've got an RC four-wheel drive Warn winch here. These are great. But yeah, there's plenty of real estate on that Traxxas bumper to put the Warn winch. So that's a great scale accessory. These winches are cool. They really work. You can actually pull the truck out of trouble. I've never seen one work in person. I know other guys have reviewed them for the magazine, so I'm looking forward to checking this out and doing some authentic winching with the TRX-4 and this RC four-wheel drive winch. I've also got an RC four-wheel drive metal bumper, this steel guy. This thing's pretty burly. With these, you've got these tangs, and these go on the sides of the chassis rails. And it looks like this will also fit just fine. I have to take the screws out and reinstall them, but you can see how it lines up with the rails there. So this will also fit. So already out of the crate, you've got accessories for the TRX-4. Wheels and tires, yeah, let's check that out. This is a Hyrax, Proline Hyrax on a fault line wheel, 1.9 inch. And we'll see if that fits on there. Would anyone throw a brushless setup in here, or is it worth it? I would think you'd want to stay brushed, because the brush stuff plays nicely with water, and you get plenty of torque, very fine throttle control without having to worry about a censored setup. So certainly there are brushless crawling systems, and you could put one in here, but I think the stock setup is going to work fine. So here's a Hyrax tire on a fault line rim from Proline on the TRX-4. And that fits just fine. It rotates. I don't see any clearance issues or binding or anything. So if you've got 1.9 inch tires, go ahead and throw them on there. Or 2.2s for that matter. I don't know how well they would play with the body as far as rubbing the fenders, but in terms of a 1.9 Proline wheel and tire fitting on there, it just goes right on. So no worries about bolting those up. Since we've got a battery in here, let's go ahead and plug that in. And we'll grab some AA's for the transmitter. I've got some genuine Traxxas AA's. I like having AA's with RC logos on them. Okay, so power on for the radio. We'll power on the truck. And servo is actually new for this. Traxxas has a new metal gear servo for the TRX-4. And it certainly seems to have good swing there. And let's see, let's check out this locking differential setup. I'll turn the truck upside down. Get that centered. So you've got a 2-speed transmission. That's the low. And if we kick this up here, that will, oh, that's the differential, sorry. This is the high-low. That will put us into high gear. And you can see that's a lot faster. And right now with the switch all the way back, that should be both differentials open, and that appears to be the case there. Yeah, these are both open differentials. So if you're on the trail and you've got to go through twists and turns and you want maximum handling, those open diffs are going to be the way to go. Center position, let's see if we can hear the servo. That should now mean the front end is locked, which it is, and the rear diff should be open. There you go. So front differential locked, rear differential open. You need more climbing power. You want to lock up that front end. Center position is going to do that. And then all the way forward should lock both front and rear diffs. And they are, so there you go. T-lock, 3-position, both diffs unlocked, front locked, rear unlocked, or both differentials locked right from the transmitter, and your high-lows down here. So pretty neat. It's just like the Summit, same technology. And if you've ever driven a Summit, you know how well that works. It's a really neat feature to have. So I'm looking forward to getting on the trail with this and enjoying a little more speed, which is always nice, and some extra handling capability when it's not time to get down and dirty with serious trail work. And that reminds me, when I test trail cars, my spot is kind of a hike. So I like to walk with the car. And Traxxas has a feature. You know what, I didn't look at the box. I don't know if they call it cruise control, but it works like cruise control. Basically what you do is you dial in how much throttle you want. Then you press the set button. And it just holds that setting. So while you're walking, you don't have to hold the trigger in just the right spot. You can just cruise along, and you use your multi-function knob here to turn that cruise control setting up and down. And as soon as you hit the brake, you're back to normal throttle control. So that's pretty cool. I look forward to that feature because it is kind of a drag when you're just walking and you're just holding that trigger in just the right spot. And you can reach with your thumb. I like to drive one-handed. I've actually got a pit tip where I put a little screw in here so I can drive with my thumb more easily. But when you're hiking with a truck and you can drive one-handed, that's a nice feature. So that cruise control is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And let's see what you guys are saying. Wicked, says Paul. It is a very cool truck. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, I saw pictures of it, but when you see it in the plastic, and you should be able to see these like now at your hobby store, if not this weekend or Monday, but go check it out. Nice, says Russell. Model. This is a Traxxas TRX-4, Roy. This is Traxxas's first full-on trail truck. Certainly the Summit, super trail capable, but not very scale. Traxxas Telluride, scale styled, built on the Stampede 4x4 platform. Independent suspension, great truck, a great all-around fun truck. But if you want dedicated trail performance, solid axles, super scale body, all that stuff, this is the TRX-4, and that's what it's built for. That's crazy cruise control, says Gerard. I agree, it's a great feature. And let's see, who wants to buy a nice SCX-10? SCX-10 is a great truck, but Traxxas has got a real winner here. We'll see what happens once these hit stores and people start scooping them up. Articulation, you know what, check that out. Let's see what it does for articulation. I'll just go ahead and lift this. Let me give you a side view here. And we'll see when this wheel lifts. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's up there. I've actually got an articulation ramp. I didn't think to bring it for this video, so maybe that'll be a separate video. But articulation looks good. It's got nice shocks on it. You can see these threaded body aluminum dampers. Let me pull a wheel off so you can see that better. Here we go. So there you can see the shock. It is aluminum, threaded body, and you can really see that nice axle detail, the way the molding, it looks like a casting you'd find on a real truck. A lot of reinforcement there. The diff covers look nice. Really a good looking truck. You can notice up here too, you can see it's a servo mounted, or it's a chassis mounted servo. And if you look, you can see that the steering linkage and the pin hard bar are parallel, which is what you want. That way you don't get bump steer. That way you don't have a suspension action making the wheels steer left and right as you're driving. So a thoughtful and well done design. These links are aluminum. You've got spline telescoping drive shafts. Looks like you got steel universals in there, CD style. What else? Let's see what you guys are asking. Ryan has the eRevo. Good for you, Ryan. That's a nice truck. How much for that? I think these are going for $450. You can certainly check. You guys are online. But it's not out of league with what's already out there for 1/10 scale detail trail trucks with a licensed body. If you guys are tuning in late and haven't seen this yet, the body is really a beautiful piece. This is a Land Rover Defender D110. I believe 110 is the wheelbase of the full-size truck, and that makes it a 4-door. The D90 is a shorter wheelbase truck with 2 doors. I think. I'm not the Land Rover expert, but really a great looking body. I mean, this thing looks super good. And again, functional spare tire. You got these, I call them jerry cans, but that's like an old-fashioned metal can. I think Rotopack is the actual plastic jug that the serious 4x4 guys use. And you got a jack over here. Really nice. And those fender wells again. Beautiful, says Richard. Wonder how torque twist will be. Actually, it should not have torque twist. There is torque acting on those axles, obviously. You've got drive shafts running down the center of the car into the axle, but I'll get the box again. Because you've got a lot of reduction happening at the end of the axle, and those gears are perpendicular to the chassis, that should dramatically reduce torque twist. And in the videos I've seen of this truck in action, it doesn't appear to twist. I mean, it just stays straight. You put the gas on and it goes up and over, and you don't have a lot of twist happening. And that's thanks to that portal axle. Portal axle, of course, too, is all about ground clearance. You can see how the axle drops down, which means that your differential is that much higher relative to the ground, so you get more ground clearance. I'll bring the box out again. There's another nice illustration there for that. Yeah, here we go. Sorry about the glare. We can see where they've drawn where a regular differential would drop down versus the raised up differential because you've got that portal axle. So you got T-lock, remote locking differentials. We covered that. High-low range transmission. I showed you that in action. Metal gear servo is new. Traxxas has some powerful servos, the 2075, but this servo is brand new for them with all metal gears. Torque twist eliminated, they say, via the portal axle. I'm looking forward to trying that out. Canyon Trail tires. You know, I took one of those tires off, so let's get a nice look at that. Not a model of any full-size tire, but certainly looks like it could be a full-size tire. If someone wanted to mold one of those up. Nice detailing on there. I'm not sure how well a phone can focus, but it's got a rotation arrow, which is nice because I will definitely put some tires on backwards when I'm not being careful. These are 1.9s. These are glued. It's a beadlock style wheel. You can see the detailing there. 12mm hex, standard stuff. I showed you how the Hyrax went on there. This is a Hyrax from Proline on a fault line wheel, so no worries with aftermarket capability. I was afraid with those big portal axles that it might be a special rim, but it's not. You can use standard wheels on this. Let's see what else. What are you guys saying? Is the servo waterproof? Yeah, it's a waterproof vehicle. Will it run on nickel metal hydride? Asks Bruce. I don't see why not, Bruce. Should run fine. Does not have beadlock, Sergio. Beadlock styling, but not a functional beadlock. Rims are glued, Dave. That's right. Anybody else want to pipe in here? What we got? All right. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Any more questions on the Traxxas TRX-4? How slow can it go? It should crawl along just like any other trail truck. I'll go ahead and fire it up again. I know you really want to see it in action, but this will have to do. So I'll give it the least amount of throttle I can. So yeah, that's slow. I mean, that's what you're going to do with it. And as noted before, this is on 3S, by the way. You got plenty of wheel speed to get you out of trouble. That's actually in second. This is first. This is super slow. That's full throttle in first. There's second. And now it's a full speed shift. Not sure if they recommend doing it that way, but I want to see what would happen, so there you go. And as noted, you've got locking differentials, 3 positions here. Both diffs unlocked, front diff locked, both front and rear differentials locked. Let's take a look at what's in that bag. All right, here is a piece of plastic, and what this is an optional rear shock tower, I believe. Here's the rear shock tower, and this guy will replace that and move the shocks back so that you can run a longer wheelbase. And I'll have to check out the manual to see how that actually goes on there. But you can adjust the wheelbase on the truck. You'll need to get different forelinks to push the axles out, and Traxxas will have those as an accessory, is my understanding. But this piece to push the shock towers back does come in that bag. You've got your hex wrenches here and a 4-way wrench. Sorry about all that glare there. And Traxxas actually gives you some nice tools. We've all seen, L wrenches. They've got this kind of T-shaped design, which makes it easier to twist. They're not going to replace your nice high-end drivers, whoops, but they are actually hardened, and they're tools that are designed to last and serve you well. So keep them in the pit box. They are good things to have. Got a decal sheet. Body clips. Sorry about all this glare, guys. And sorry I can't remember where the camera is. We've seen body clips. I don't know why I'm showing you body clips. You got this booklet here. This has got your exploded views in it. You can always get exploded views online, but I find it very handy to have these exploded views around when I'm looking for a part number or I want to see how something fits. And of course, you got a quick start manual. Traxxas will have a full manual online if they don't already. But you've seen a manual. Hopefully you read the manual, so especially a new vehicle like the TRX-4. There's bound to be some new stuff in there. Always want to know what the features of your vehicle are so you can get the most out of it. Don't want to realize you're missing out on something cool. For example, I would not have known it had cruise control if I didn't read the manual or at least look at the box. And we should go ahead and put that wheel back on. And we can put the bumper back in. I missed that question about why they went with something. Let me look. Oh, why did they go with portal axles? Asks Elaine, I think it was. It just scrolled by. The portal axles increase ground clearance. If you look at the truck, I'm not sure it really shows up on camera, but you can see how the axles come out, and normally the wheel would attach in line with this axle. The portal axle steps down, and then the wheel attaches. So that gives you that much more ground clearance compared to a standard solid axle design where you just have a drive shaft and then the wheel goes on the end and end of story. You can see these nice D-clips here too. These are separate parts that will move around just like a full-size truck. Waterproof receiver enclosure. This has a rubber plug, which is great, so you can get to the bind button and see the LED in there without having to disassemble it. Looks like these guys adjust in and out for different bodies. Adjustability is always a nice feature. Certainly, there are plenty of bodies out there for trail trucks. Being able to put those on the TRX-4 is something everyone's going to want to do. So Traxxas had the foresight to do that with you. Portal axles reduced torque twist 2, says Mark. That is true. I'm looking forward to finding out how true that is once we get this out on the trail. What else can I tell you? XL5 speed control, but this one is special for the TRX-4. It's got that cruise control, which I assume is part of the speed control, or maybe it's in the radio. Either way, cruise control is a neat function. I can show that to you guys again for those of you turning in late. So one more time on the cruise control. Here's your throttle. Oops, I didn't turn the truck on. You have to make sure you hold down the on-off button long enough. There we go. So if you're hiking along with your truck and you want to have the throttle operate as a cruise control, you just give it some gas wherever you want your pace to be, and you hit the set button, and that locks in that setting. And if you want to speed it up or slow it down, you just use your multifunction knob to get the perfect speed that you want. And once you hit the brakes, cruise control is off and you've got regular throttle control again. Winch, yes, a winch can be fitted. There's an included winch prop, if you will. It's not functional. This comes with the truck, and that fits on the bumper just like that, and it gives a nice winch look. But that does come off, and you've got a nice flat plate there, and that will let you put on an RC four-wheel drive Warn winch. Probably not in focus, but that will go on there. You'll have to drill the holes yourself unless I'm missing something, but that will fit right on there, so you can have an authentic electric working winch. I'm looking forward to putting that on there. And also noted before, you can put aftermarket bumpers on there. This is a SEX10 bumper, and that fits right in. So Proline bumpers, RC four-wheel drive bumpers, they'll fit right on there. Here's a steel RC four-wheel drive bumper that can go on there. This one also accepts the winch. You can see it's got the opening there. That will fit on there. Melvin wants one. I hear you, brother. I'm glad I have one. Does it have a drag brake? It's got to have a drag brake. I mean, Traxxas would not have gone all this way with a serious trail truck to not put a drag brake on there. So let's go ahead and oh, you know what? The diffs are unlocked. Yeah, I'll have to try it in the trail to see how much brake effect there is there, but yeah. I think that's part of the unique XL5 speed control compared to the standard XL5. And this is a 21 turn motor. That's not the standard 12 turn Titan you're used to seeing. When can we get one? They should be hitting stores this weekend. Certainly by next week they'll be rolling out, and you should be able to get a TRX-4 of your own. What is drag brake, asks Reed. Well, when you're on a trail, when you are coasting or off of throttle, you don't want the truck to just roll down obstacles. You want to have a very strong brake that will come on automatically. And that's what a drag brake is. The brake drags instead of just letting you coast freely. Elaine asks about the weight. I don't have my scale handy. It feels a little weightier, I would guess, which makes sense because you've got 3 extra servos on there and extra mechanisms for the portal axles, and the portal axles themselves have additional gearing that a standard straight axle would not. Body's also pretty hefty because you've got plenty of injection molded parts on it. But the truck's geared so low, like other trail trucks, I don't think it's gonna have any problem pulling that weight around. And what else can I tell you? Fire away with a few more questions, otherwise we'll get this wrapped up. The body does take a little finagling, I'll say that. You've got to go through the roof as well as the luggage rack. There it is. But Traxxas really got the stance right. I think it's a terrific looking truck. Really nicely done. Linkage or cable for the lockers. It is a linkage control. Worth the money, would you rather have a Summit? The Summit is a great truck. It's not scale though. You've got giant tires way outside the body with independent suspension. So in terms of technology and stance and appearance, the Summit is not realistic. So if you want realistic, you definitely want to get the TRX-4. On the other hand, if you just want a bananas truck that can do anything, you know, sky off jumps and then crawl over rocks and roots and run like an e-Revo would, although not as fast. That's what a Summit does. A Summit is basically a trailified e-Revo with locking differentials and a high-low transmission. But for scale, authenticity, and so it's going to look and drive like a trail truck, the TRX-4, that's the hands-down way to go. Rob says he wishes it had the X-Max quick-release body mounting system. I'm with you, Rob. I wish everything had that. I am over body clips and have been for a long time. The problem with body clips is that they work so well and they're inexpensive and no one has problems with them, so that's why we keep using them. But the Traxxas solution is really nice on the X-Max, and I would love to see that on other Traxxas vehicles and have other manufacturers develop similar systems so that we can not hassle with body clips. Size to other crawlers, asks Bruce. It is 1/10 scale. It is similar in size. I can actually reach a Vetera Ascender. So here's the TRX-4. Here's a Vetera Ascender. And I'm not sure how a full-size Land Rover Defender D-Wood 10 would compare to Chevy, like this Vetera Ascender is. But that gives you a sense of size there. How tall are the tires, asks Michael. If I can reach my tape measure, I'll tell you. We'll go ahead and measure the one on the rear of the truck. I forgot I didn't put body clips in. I'm going to call that 5 inches, 5 inches tall. Anybody else before we call it a day on this Facebook Live video for the Traxxas TRX-4? Glad to help, Rob. Are there spots for light bars, etc.? Traxxas will have a ton of accessories for this. I do know that in the fender wells, there are spots here. You can see that. You can put rock lights on there, so you can light up the fender wells. If you were inside the truck, that would help you see what the wheels are doing, but it just looks cool when you're outside the truck. And it looks like these are LED compatible buckets up here. Ditto in the back. Sorry about the glare. That's not molded into the body. That is a separate piece of plastic. It's hard to show you, but you should be able to put LEDs in this. Yeah. Sorry, I'm holding it so awkwardly. Let me take a last look at the box here, make sure I'm not missing anything. So you've got T-lock remote locking differentials. We covered those. High-low range transmission. We saw that in action. Metal gear digital servo. This is the first metal gear servo for Traxxas. You got the portal axles, which are going to raise your ground clearance and reduce torque twist. Canyon Trail 1.9 tires. We talked about those. It does take aftermarket tires. It's a 12mm FX. No worries there. 12mm hex, not FX. Waterproof electronics with a receiver and a waterproof enclosure. Inner fenders I showed you. So when the body's mounted, you're not looking right up into the body and seeing wires and batteries. Cruise control, neat feature, I showed you that. The frame is steel. You don't really notice it because it's black on black, so it kind of blends in with the plastic. But this is a full steel chassis. It is a C-section, so it does a full wrap around there, so it's very stiff. It seems very stiff. The truck is pretty stout. Let's get back to that box. Improved geometry. The portal axles too, I showed you a few times, but because the differential is higher with the portal, that also means that these drive shafts, the center shafts, can be at a shallower angle. Instead of reaching down more steeply, they are shallower, they're tucked up higher, so that also increases your ground clearance. And the 4 links, you can see they're tucked up nicely in here. Traxxas tough. No, it is a Traxxas. Scale detail, we showed you that. You got a functional rear tire, off-road jack, spare fuel canisters. The D-rings are actual separately molded parts that can move around. 3S power system, XL5HV electronic speed control. You got 3S LiPo capability. Trail profile gives you smooth driving for most of your adventures. Crawl profile has hill hold and instant reverse. There you go. So that answers your question about a drag brake. So when you activate that profile, you're going to have that hill hold, and we'll check that out once we get out on the trail. Aluminum GTS shocks, oil-filled coilover, and they've got a cutaway. I can show you that. And again, if you go to Traxxas.com, I'm sure you can see the stuff a lot better than I'm showing it to you. But aluminum shock, you can see those blue guys. Those are X-rings, oil damp with a piston, typical construction, but narrower for a scale look, and that is aluminum. And steep approach angles, says Traxxas the TRX-4. You can see that there too. So this should do great on the trail, and even nicer when you're not on the most technical parts of the trail. You can shift into high and unlock the differentials and have more speed to play with. This isn't going to outrun a wide wheelbase independent suspension truck. Obviously, it's not going to do that kind of stuff. I wouldn't think. We'll find out when we drive it. But as far as realistic scale, detail, and capability, this looks like a lot of fun. And the ability to lock and unlock the differentials, shift into high and low, is an extra dimension I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun with. So you're going to see this in the September issue of RC Car Action. We just shipped the August issue. And also stay tuned to caraction.com. Watch our Facebook page. We'll get a lot more stuff up on with the TRX-4. But I sure appreciate you guys watching. Steering angle and articulation, please, says Ryan. So articulation, again, I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. I'm going to wait for that other tire to lift off. And it's up there. I mean, that's good articulation. And the steering angle, I'll actually do it via the radio instead of just turning the servo by hand. So here is your steering angle. What does the red button do? All right, I don't mind doing it again for you guys tuning in a little late. This switch is your high-low transmission. This switch is your remote locking differentials. So right now, top position should be low gear. That's top speed on low. And I'll shift it into high. So you get a lot more speed on high, obviously. And that's on 3S. You can also run the truck on 2S. And right now this switch all the way back is both differentials unlocked. Let me get my radio out of the way. So you've got unlocked differentials. You can see the wheels. I hope you can see that the wheels are turning in opposite directions because the differential is unlocked. Center position. I'll show you this way. Center position. Now I've got a locked front differential. Rear end is still open. And then all the way forward, you can hear the servo moving. Now I've got locked front and rear differentials. So that's what the switches and buttons do on the radio. Why 3 servos, Reed? That is because you've got one servo over here. That should be your high-low transmission. It's hard to see, but there's a linkage that goes into the transmission. On this side, you've got linkages here for the front and rear. And actually, I misspoke. There is a very short linkage there, but that's going into a cable. So it's a cable control that is operating the differential. So my bad on that one. Cable control for the T-lock diffs. If you look beneath the truck, you can see where that cable goes in. Well, you can't see it with my fat finger in the way, but if you can see that line that goes into the differential. All right, I am melting under these hot lights. I'm going to wrap it up. Let's see if there's any more last questions. Thank God he finally answered, Reed. You're welcome, Jeffrey. It's hard to watch the comments and look at the truck at the same time, so doing my best, buddy. What body are you putting on it? I'm putting on the body that came with it. This is the Defender D110 Land Rover. And it's a little tricky to line up the rear body posts. The rear body posts go through the body and the roof rack. And it's a little hard to see in there because you got full fender wells. There we go. So there you go. Yeah, I am going to run it, Pete. Believe me, I'm looking forward to getting out there. Seems like a scaled down Summit. Technology wise, for sure. Definitely much more realistic in stance and styling, but technology wise, yeah. What's the first thing I would upgrade? I don't know, Elaine. I mean, this thing is loaded. It's got that new Metal Gear servo, so I'm not looking at a servo real soon, unless it turns out to not be a good servo, but I don't see why it wouldn't work out just fine. The power system, I'm fine with the brush power systems in any of the trail trucks I've driven. You can certainly get lower turn motors and really go for super dedicated trail performance. But what I like with this is that it's meant to do all kinds of stuff. You can unlock the differentials, you can go faster. You're not just stuck with super crawl speed, where if you're not on a trail that's giving you a challenge, where it just kind of is dull. I mean, this will actually give you a little more excitement when you don't have really great terrain that's going to really challenge the truck. So I'm not looking forward, I shouldn't say I'm not looking forward, I'm not looking to change the power system. I really upgraded much. I can definitely see myself doing some cool anodized links and stuff to dress up looks. But performance-wise, I don't see anything that jumps out as like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to change that. Again, haven't driven it yet, but based on what's in the truck, I think the main upgrades for this will just be styling stuff. And Traxxas has thought of you for that. You can put on aftermarket bumpers. Like I showed a couple times in the video, it will take bumpers designed for the Axial SEX10 and SEX10-2. It was an SEX10-2 bumper I put on there, which I believe they're the same, have the same post configuration. I also tried an RC four-wheel drive bumper for Axial, and that also fit. So I think any of the Axial bumpers will fit. You can dress up that way. Certainly wheels and tires. It's a standard 1.9 with a 12mm hex, so tons of tire and wheel options. I don't see any reason you wouldn't put a 2.2 on there if you wanted. Not sure if it will work with this body, but you can jack up the body or different aftermarket shells, or you can trim the fender, take the fender flares off. You guys and the trail guys are all going to figure that out, I'm sure, pretty quickly once these start getting in customers' hands. Price, you know what? I'm going to jump over here and I'll just see what it's going for right now. TRX-4. Here it is at $450 at one place. Let me check someplace else. Here's $470, so around that $450, $470 mark, I would think. Of course, it's going to vary with your local dealer as well, but it's competitive with other 110 scale trail trucks. And right now, a TRX-4 is the only one that's got the remote locking diffs and the portal axles. So definitely keep that in mind when you're comparing prices. And a fully licensed body. Even though a piece of Lexan is a piece of Lexan, once you have a licensed body, that makes the price go up because you've got the full-size manufacturer looking for their piece of the pie, and it's not cheap to license a body. Traxxas has done a great job with this one. That Defender shell looks great. And this should come in other colors as well. It's shown in red on the box, which we started the video with. You can see it there. And I imagine Traxxas would offer that body in clear as well, and certainly there's a ton of bodies from Proline and others that you can put on there right now. Clifford says he can't wait to get his, but the one thing, I'm not treating it like a rock crawler like I see quite a few people do. I'm with you. I think for, ultimate hanging on a ledge by one knob kind of ultimate trail stuff, a dedicated rock crawler is great. Vehicles like this, I want them to perform like the real truck, and they don't have to do the super heroics that I would expect of a comp ready, rock crawler. If they can do the stuff I would imagine the full-size truck doing, that's all I'm looking for. In my experience, they tend to outperform what I would think a full-size version could do. So there is a lot of performance here. I think this one's going to work great, especially with those portal axles eliminating torque twist. So I can't wait to get it out there. But yeah, I think the expectations should be different for a trail truck versus a dedicated crawler. So I think I'm going to wrap it up unless you guys jump out with some really unique questions we haven't already seen. Give you a few more seconds to type in there and then we'll wrap it up. As one heart drifts by. All right, well listen, thanks guys for checking us out on Facebook. We'll do more of these Facebook Live videos. Plan to get this out tomorrow. My phone is taping, so I can't actually check the weather on it like I'd like to, but if we get some sunshine this weekend, I'm going to get out there. And I did just say my phone tapes, which it doesn't. There's no tape inside the phone. I'm an old man. But it is recording, so I can't check the weather right now. What's next for Traxxas? I wish I knew. Traxxas is notoriously tight-lipped. And I gotta say, most manufacturers, they don't really tell you what they're working on next. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure if I asked, you guys would say you want Traxxas 5th scale, Traxxas 8th scale buggy. So who knows what they're working on, but whatever they're working on, you'll see it here first. I'm in Texas, Rob. I'm north by Dallas. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I hope this worked out okay. I did a few tests on my private page. Hopefully the sound was good. I'm going to play it back and check it out and see if we can do better next time, anything that wasn't dialed in for this one. But I really appreciate it. Anything you want to see on Facebook, in Car Action, at caraction.com, please let us know. We're always happy to get your comments. Let's see your trucks, your race vehicles, all that stuff. Send your pictures to readersrides@airage.com. If you got a pit tip, pittips@airage.com. We always appreciate hearing from you guys. And I'm going to sign off. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you again soon.